Thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful occasion as we gather today with legal experts across Africa to discuss very pressing topics regarding the business climate and landscape across Africa. My name is Michael Ajay, your host, and the topic for the webinar is Invest in Africa with the Centurion Law Group. Africa's potential as a good market for business remains both underestimated and misunderstood. And so does the potential for business to play a transformative role in solving the continent's biggest challenges. There have been some significant strides in economic development, policies, and infrastructure. However, navigating the business landscape still requires some level of professional and legal assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some very high-level speakers here, and they will be exploring prime issues on local infrastructure and incentives for investment beyond Africa's borders, while we delve in to investigate how investments can be accelerated beyond the borders, the ease of doing business, and the incorporation, as well as improvements in the banking systems, incentives for diversification, tax incentives for investors, real estate opportunities, amongst others, while making a strong case for an alternative expert-backed solution to current economic issues. Africa is huge, and for the time constraints, we will take into context some selected countries, such as South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Mauritius, and Equatorial Guinea. Ladies and gentlemen, we have expert legal advisors representing the aforementioned countries, which I will be introducing shortly. But before that, the webinar is brought to you by the courtesy of the Centurion Law Group, an innovative client-focused leading legal practitioners and business advisory firm. The Centurion Law Group is a Pan-African law firm headquartered in Johannesburg, South Africa, with offices and partners across Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. Their lawyers and consultants have received international training and are famous for providing advice to government, foreign investors, local businesses, and other law firms, as well as the private sector. The Centurion Law Group has over 10 international offices with over 350 attorneys with 18 nationalities and a footprint in 57 countries and 9 key practice areas or areas of expertise, if you'd like, including corporate and commercial, regulatory and compliance, IT and data, intellectual property, tax, trade and investment services, as well as dispute resolution. The team's multilingual skills means they can work in English, Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, and other African indigenous languages. They provide clients with the greatest support possible in all business advice and legal consents, thanks to their technical proficiency, in-depth understanding of the African legal system, and the real-world transaction experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Centurion Plus is an arm of the Centurion Law Group, an agile and customized legal and advisory service offering, which brings together a team of African lawyers for any deal on a project basis. They have the ability to identify and mobilize the best local talent in each market while maintaining international standards in legal and consulting service delivery, whether on-site or off-site, on-call or on-demand. Centurion Plus has the African lawyers and advisors your company needs ready to deploy whenever and wherever you need them. Always ready on or ready at your disposal. Right, now joining us on the panel from Ghana, we have Young Abledu, Achari Tako from Cameroon. From Mauritius, we have Chief Paradian. From Equatorial Guinea, Pablo Obama Mitogo, Leon van der Merwe from South Africa. And finally, from Nigeria, we have Tamara Jamba. I welcome you all once again for joining this panel, and a very special thanks to our viewers for making time to join us this day. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Centurion Law Group believes that diversification and investment should be recognized as the pillars of development. It acknowledges the need for an insufferable amount of pressure on Africa's investment grid. With a rigid foundation on investment techniques and financing solutions, with this, it believes the African continent will reach its optimal economic potential. Now, this is a very interesting topic because we both know there has been several concerns raised by many sects as to whether Africa is ready for the next phase of development. So my question is, how well is Africa prepared, and what are some of the prevailing commitments in terms of government policies to attract investors and to ensure commitments on the ease of doing business in Africa? Let's take the perspective of Ghana, Mauritius, and Nigeria, respectively. So we'll start from Yom, Ashif, and Tamara accordingly. Over to you.
Thank you, Michael. So I'd like to tell you where Ghana is located geographically, so it makes sense as to why I'm giving you all these top tips about Ghana. Ghana, officially the Republic of Ghana, is a country in West Africa. It shares border with Ivory Coast in the west, Burkina Faso in the north, Togo in the east. It borders the Gulf of Guinea and Atlantic Ocean to the south. Ghana is an Anglophone country surrounded by Francophone countries. Formerly known as a Gold Coast, Ghana gained independence from the British in 1957, making it the first sub-Saharan nation to break free from colonial rule. Also, medieval Ghana stood on a gold mine. The country is endowed with rich mineral resources. We have timber, we have gold, diamond, bauxite, iron ore, coffee, and oil and gas. All these contribute to making Ghana among the wealthier nations in West Africa. And this have also helped fuel an economic boom. In 2018, Ghana's economy outperformed the global and sub-Saharan African economies. And this has actually enhanced its profile as an attractive investment destination. Ghana's investment attractiveness has resulted from several government initiatives, such as legal changes that have sought to address the challenges to the country's development into the business hub of West Africa. Now, Michael, you talk about the ease of doing business in Ghana. Businesses can operate as either limited liability companies incorporated under Ghanaian laws or external companies incorporated in foreign countries. Also, foreigners can own 100% foreign-owned companies in Ghana. In some sectors, this requires a minimum stated capital requirement, but for manufacturing and export companies, they are exempt from this requirement. There are several government agencies that regulate and control Ghana's business environment and operations. These agencies are established by legislative acts, right? So they are responsible for setting the standards of doing business in Ghana and the standards for operating in specific sectors or industry. I'll outline the main regulatory agencies that affect a Ghanaian company with foreign investors. So I'll start with the Office of the Registrar of Companies, formerly known as the Registrar General's Department. So following the passage of the Companies Act 2019, Act 992, the Office of the Registrar of Companies has been established to register and regulate all types of business entities in Ghana. So the new act realized the problems that were posed in the previous system where it was the Registrar General's Department, right? So it's established a more efficient body to facilitate business operations while improving the qualities of services rendered. With this innovation, it's actually digitalized processes. It cuts down the number of days it took to register a company previously. At first, if you want to register a company, it could take a number of days, but now within a week, you should be able, within 5 working days, you should be able to fully establish your company in Ghana. And then this has also allowed for client satisfaction. It saved costs, and then without watering down the quality. I also like to mention the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, that's the GIPC. The GIPC is responsible for many things, including advising potential investors, identifying projects that deserve investment. So it's all about the investor support. So you can get that with the GIPC. We also have the Taxman, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Ghana Free Zones Authority. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Yom. Well, Mauritius is the prime jurisdiction as a vehicle for investment into Africa. And at Centurion, we are well versed in using the Mauritian platform to its full potential and to efficiently facilitate our clients and prospective investors, businesses all over the African continent. According to the World Bank's annual ratings, Mauritius is ranked first in Africa for ease of doing business, with numerous legal and regulatory frameworks, as well as a host of business and fiscal incentives, which taken together make up the robust and resilient Mauritius International Financial Center. As my esteemed colleagues will certainly showcase, Africa currently offers such a wide array of business opportunities and resources. And although setting foot in certain African countries may appear daunting to some investors, the Mauritius platform provides a fully regulated seamless and easy point of entry into the African market. For instance, by having a global business company registered in Mauritius, investors can enjoy the utmost serenity knowing that the business is in full compliance with the most rigorous regulatory structures and is being managed by a team of highly qualified and skillful professionals within Centurion and our affiliates and partners. I'll now leave the floor to my colleague Kamara to tell us a bit about Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ashif. That was very enlightening. Thank you, Yom, as well. I'll just start with giving a brief introduction about Nigeria, just like my colleague Yom did. And just like Ghana, Nigeria is also located at the west part of Africa and is popularly known as the giant of Africa. With the size of Nigeria, there are over 200 million inhabitants in Nigeria. Nigeria is a multinational state with over 250 ethnic groups. The largest ethnic groups in Nigeria are Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. The ethnic groups in Nigeria speak over 500 different languages. However, the official language of Nigeria is English. These ethnic groups have various, cultures and arts and unique qualities. In Nigerian industry actually is the second largest film producer in the world. So just bringing the conversation back to investment, enough about facts of Nigeria. Bringing the conversation back to investment, I think the African governments, they're making notable advancements towards the development we want in Africa generally, not just in Nigeria. One of the moves by the African governments to, ensure the ease of doing business all over Africa and ensure that we have favorable business environments is the signing of the AFCFTA. Currently, as at February 2023, 54 countries have signed the AFCFTA, and the AFCFTA has 44 member states. 44 countries also have deposited their instruments of ratification of the AFCFTA. Another commendable move by the Nigerian government is the various legislations that are being signed to improve the business environment in Nigeria. One of them is the signing of the PIA, that's the Petroleum Industry Act. This was signed and brought into law in 2021. And if implemented diligently, the PIA will help facilitate Nigeria's economic development by attracting and creating investment in opportunities, not just for local investors, but also for international investors. Another thing, because generally the Nigerian government, they're working relentlessly to improve the ease of doing business, ensuring that we have a favorable business environment in Nigeria. The reforms and the legislations that are being put in place are to ensure that the business environment is being developed. And one of these reform that has been established is the registration of companies. And just like Ghana, in Nigeria as well, the registration of companies has been fully digitalized, in the sense that everything from the first to the last stage is being done online. So now you have 24 hours timeline for the approval of names for your business name or your company name. Once it's 24 hours, in 24 hours you get your approval. And once you put in all the documentations required, in 2 to 3 working days, you'll get your business approved. Another notable reform is the establishment of the one-stop center. Although this is not so recent, but the one-stop center I think is worthy of note because it is seated in the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, and it houses about 24 different government agencies where you can get your approval and interface with those agencies without having to go from one place to another. There are also various tax incentives that improve the business environment in Nigeria. I won't have time to, go into detail to discuss them, but I'll just mention them briefly. One of them is the pioneer status, which gives, tax holiday to companies in the agricultural sector and other sectors that are qualified. Another tax incentive is the zero import duty for companies in the agricultural sector, and the exemption of interest from tax on loans granted to agricultural activities. Lastly and finally is the availability of e-visas. So with e-visas, you can up and come to Nigeria. You can just apply for the approval online. Everything is done online. You pay online, apply online, and you get your approval within 48 hours. And when you get to the airport here, you're stamped your visa. And that's, it's available for business travelers. Makes it so easy for businesses to come into Nigeria. I'll just pause here. I have so much more to say, but I'll pause here and let us discuss other topics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Thank you very much, Yom and Ashif, for a very insightful and elaborative comment there. Thank you very much. And indeed, African governments are making some significant strides in the development of the continent. I'll jump quickly to Leon van der Merwe from South Africa. So South Africa is a leading African economy and home to 75% of the largest African companies. Share with us some of the successful stories that has attracted investors and driven South Africa to this point. Leon.
Thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, colleagues and panelists. I think the situation in South Africa differs a little bit. We need to take a step back and firstly get some perspective. For many years, South Africa was ruled by a racially exclusive, discriminatory, and exploitive system. The majority of citizens, specifically Africans, were completely excluded from any contribution or development or investment in this country. One needs to give credit where credit is due, and I think we need to appreciate what government and private sector has done over actually a very short democratic period, and most importantly, what we continue to do in moving the country forward. Today, South Africa, however, is one of the most sophisticated, diverse, and promising emerging markets globally. We are strategically located at the tip of the African continent, and we are a key investment location, both for market opportunities within our borders and also as a gateway to the rest of the continent with a market of at least 1 billion people. South Africa is also part of the BRICS group, which further amplifies the fact that it's a powerhouse. South Africa has got a wealth of natural resources, and we are actually very excited with the increased attention we're getting from international exploration companies, particularly in the oil and gas sector. Only a few days ago, Total Energies revealed the huge scale of gas discoveries at the Brolpadda and Luiperd basins, and it plans on spending more than $3 billion and exploiting it. And just for interest's sake, Brolpadda means bullfrog, and Luiperd is a leopard in Afrikaans. We have world-class infrastructure, exciting innovation, research and development capabilities, which has established us as a manufacturing hub. I think currently South Africans and South Africa are rightfully so frustrated and concerned about the load shedding or blackouts we are facing on a daily basis, which is unfortunately costing the economy almost 1 billion rand per day. But there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. The government has established a working program to end load shedding within 12 months. A new Minister of Energy has been appointed, and I'm personally confident that the situation will change as the issues are being tackled heads on. We have sophisticated financial, legal, and telecommunication sector. And I think we need to pause and just highlight how transparent our laws are and how efficiently our courts operate. We have political and macroeconomic stability, an abundance of supply of semi-skilled and unskilled labor, and it compares favorably to the emerging markets. One thing about South Africans, we work hard and we pride ourselves therein. The South African government has further introduced a wide range of legislation to further promote training and skill development and fast-tracking the building of world-class competitiveness and competencies. One main reason I believe South Africa has become one of the most popular trade and investment destinations in the world is due to the country ensuring that it can meet specific trade and investment requirements of prospective investors. I believe it's a tailored approach. One set of rules does not suit all, and we as South Africans understands this, and it shows in our legislation. South Africa has a host of investment incentives, rightfully so, like Tamara mentioned, we have some incentives as well, and industrial financing interventions that are aimed at encouraging commercial activity on our continent. It's also important to note, and I'm very proud of this, Michael, that 5 years ago, our government has embarked on an investment drive to secure $1 billion in new investment over 5 years. And only in 4 years' time, we've managed to achieve 95% of this target, which is highly commendable. I can go on and go on, but I'm going to pause here. And so, yeah, thanks, Michael.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Leon. Ladies and gentlemen, he just gave us a very introspective look into South Africa's successful economy. I'm going to jump quickly to Pablo and Achari, representing Equatorial Guinea and Cameroon, respectively. What are some of the incentives currently available to attract investors to do business in Equatorial Guinea and Cameroon? Let's go ahead with Pablo, and then Achari follows in that order.
Thank you, Michael. Equatorial Guinea is a Spanish-speaking country located in the Gulf of Guinea between Cameroon and Gabon. Here you can find 3 different types of incentives. The first is the participation of the government in private projects. The second type is investment aid for small and medium-sized companies. And the third is tax incentives. Let me just name a few of them. If you need the government to be involved in your investment, you can apply for a joint venture fund managed by the Holding Equatorial Guinea, which is a public investment company created especially to support investors. Regarding investment aid, the government has a fund designed to share the risk with commercial banks when it comes to approve credit lines to small and medium-sized companies. The fund is managed by the Business Development and Promotion Institute. And basically, they help young people to bucket the credit granted by commercial banks. And finally, we have fiscal incentives, and those can be found mainly in the agriculture, livestock, fishing, and also energy. According to the tax code, all production, transformation, conservation, and sales activities in agriculture, livestock, and fishing are exempt from corporate tax. Moreover, if those products are raw and sold directly to the final consumer by the same owner, they can also be exempt from VAT. In energy, in addition to oil and gas, in addition to what I have said, oil and gas companies are exempt from VAT. Almost all investment made in petroleum operations can be deductible as recoverable cost. Thank you, Michael, and back to you.
Thank you so much for what you said, Pablo, and hello, everybody. Thank you for joining in today. So I'm going to throw some light on Cameroon. before I delve into the incentives which are applicable to investors. So Cameroon is the largest and most diversified market in Central Africa. Located in the Gulf of Guinea, it's the strategic link between markets in West and Central Africa. It has a bijural legal system, and English and French are its official languages. And these languages allow investors to operate with minimal language barriers. Now, in order to promote and support investment, a number of laws have been enacted and incentive schemes enabled. For example, we have law number 2013/004 of 18th of April 2013, which lays down private investment incentives in the Republic of Cameroon. We also have the 2023 Finance Law of the Republic of Cameroon. And I'd like us to note that these laws lay particular emphasis on certain sectors, which I would like to term priority sectors. And these are agriculture and fishing, energy and water supply, tourism and leisure, construction, especially social housing, and others. Now, with regards to the incentives, we have the following. We have common incentives first. We have tax and customs incentives, which I'm going to name just a few. We have exemption from stamp duty on concession contracts. We have exemption from business license tax. We have exemption from taxes and duties on all equipment and materials related to investment programs. And we have exemption from VAT on the importation of equipment and materials. Now, with regards to financial and administrative incentives, we have, for example, the right to open in Cameroon and abroad local and foreign currency accounts to be able to carry out transactions on such accounts. We also have the free transfer of dividends and proceeds from the sale of shares of this investment. Now, we also have specific incentives in priority sectors like agriculture and fishing. Here, we have a few amenities which are offered by the current system. I'll name just a few because of time constraints. We have the exemption from VAT on the purchase of pesticides, fertilizers, inputs, as well as equipment and materials for agriculture, livestock, and fishing. We also have the exemption from registration fees on the transfer of land used for agriculture, livestock, and fishing. We also have the exemption from registration fees on loan agreements intended to finance agricultural, livestock, and fishing activities. Now, with regards to the granting of approval and monitoring control, penalties, and settlements of disputes. Now, with regards to the granting of approvals, to be able to benefit from these incentives, the investor will submit an application to the one-stop shop, which is established within the body of promoting SMEs for local SMEs. Now, promoting investments for local and foreign investors is very important. The one-stop shop is very important because it means companies can be created in under 48 hours. This is really a long shot as compared to other African countries. I'd also like to add that companies can be 100% foreign owned. So there is absolutely no obligation for the inclusion of local shareholders. Now, I'm going to also talk about the minimum authorized capital, which according to the Ohada Uniform Act on Commercial Companies and Economic Interest Groups, is set at £1 million. However, this law also provides for a specific number of states to have their own legislation to change this minimum authorized capital. And that is why, with this possibility, the December 14, 2016 presidential decree brings down the minimum authorized capital to 100,000 francs. This puts the creation of companies at a very affordable rate. And also, there is no prerequisite for investors to create companies in Cameroon because investment is open to all. Now, I'm going to speak about dispute settlements and penalties. Sometimes in business, disputes are inevitable. What is important is how we manage these disputes. Now, according to our private investment law, investors are granted incentives who are granted incentives under this law, must first of all seize the control committee in case of a dispute to seek amicable settlement. So thank you so much. We have so much more in store, but I'm going to let Michael go ahead with the other questions. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Pablo Dachari, for that informative analysis on the legal frameworks that are incentivizing investors in both Equatorial Guinea and Cameroon. Very impressive. I'm going to switch quickly back to the west of Africa. And this question goes to Yom and Tamara from both Ghana and Nigeria, respectively. So Africa's fast-growing population and markets represent important opportunities for business in an environment of slow global growth. At the same time, greater innovation and investment from businesses is essential to meet Africa's unfulfilled demand for goods and services. Close the gaps in its infrastructure, create jobs, and decrease poverty. What is your take on this? Yom and Tamara.
Okay, Michael, I think Africa's potential as a growth market for business remains both underestimated and misunderstood, as well as its potential for business to play a transformative role in solving the continent's biggest challenges. Africa is a continent with the youngest population worldwide. As of 2022, last year, around 40% of the population was aged 15 years and younger, compared to the global average of 25%. That is why in Ghana, this current government has invested so much in educating the youth with their free senior high school initiative and national policy on education, aimed to take out the elements of cost as a barrier to education. Every year, a total of 460,000 people are admitted onto the program since 2017. That means 2.4 million students have benefited from this policy so far. And this is projected to go up every year. I'm saying this because I know that in a few years to come, almost every youth in Ghana will be literate. So Africa's current population of around 1.2 billion people is projected to reach 1.7 billion by 2030. Michael, you mentioned that Africa has the fastest growing population and markets present. And then it has a slowing global growth, that's true. At the same time, there's greater innovation and investments from businesses, which are essential to meet Africa's unfulfilled demands for goods and services, to close the gaps in its infrastructure and create jobs and decrease poverty. Here, I'm going to highlight 5 bold business opportunities investors should pay attention to. The first one is that Africa has a population that is fast growing and urbanizing. Secondly, Africa is industrializing. Thirdly, Africa is pushing to close its infrastructure gap. Fourth, there's innovations to unleash agriculture and resource wealth. There's opportunity for innovation to unleash agriculture and resource wealth. Then finally, there's a potential of increasing digital and mobile access, which is going to promote financial inclusion and access to credit for all sector workers. It doesn't matter if you're in the formal sector or the informal sector. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, my colleague has told us areas we can invest in because of the fast growing population. And I like to view the fast growing population as an advantage for Africa. And with the fast growing population in Africa, this means that there is rapid increase in demand for both goods and for services. And this also means that opportunities for investment in various sectors. If there's demand, we need supply. So that means investment is required. Various sectors, my colleague also already mentioned, there's agricultural, there's infrastructure, there's energy, there's technology. Just like I mentioned earlier as well, the Nigerian government is ensuring, not even just the Nigerian government, all governments in Africa, we're ensuring that even though we need this supply, our business environment is, conducive for investments. This is evident in the number of countries that have signed the AfCFTA, as I mentioned earlier. Bringing it down to Nigeria, Nigeria has recently, made sure that the legislative environment is even conducive. Significantly, in 2022, 20 statutes were passed by the legislature and received presidential assent. Just to mention a few, particularly to improve the economy of Nigeria, we had the Startup Act last year. We also had the Civil Aviation Act. I'll just finalize with saying that the legislative innovations through the new international agreements and national statutes being passed is one way, the challenge of fast-growing population is being addressed to ensure that there's a favorable business environment to encourage setup of businesses and companies in Nigeria. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Yom and Tamara. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just heard the perspective of the West African region, which is Ghana and Nigeria, respectively. Now we're going to go quickly over to the Indian Ocean, where we have Mauritius located. And I'm going to ask this question to Ashif. So Ashif, according to the Capital Economics Report, foreign direct investment to the tune of $80 billion into mainland Africa is mediated by Mauritius, creating 4.2 million jobs on the continent. Now, speaking on financing and investment, and in compliance to international regulations, what did we learn from Mauritius?
Thank you, Michael. Indeed, the Capital Economics Report, which was commissioned by the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, perfectly highlighted the role of Mauritius as a catalyst for sustainable growth and development in Africa. Over the last decade, Mauritius has been very stringent in maintaining its state-of-the-art regulatory framework and compliance practices, making it the most compliant country and #1 in Africa in meeting all of the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF's recommendations. Mauritius provides a blueprint and an extensive knowledge base and experience to our African counterparts in dealing with international regulatory and compliance requirements. I will invite our audience today to consult the Centurion Law Group website and our previous article on how Mauritius is a destination of choice for investors who are seeking to grow their business within Africa. Going back to the figures you mentioned in terms of investment and activity in Mauritius supporting jobs, gross domestic product, and tax receipts in Africa, you will notice that those figures are growing exponentially. That because amidst opportunity for long-term sustainable development in Africa. At Centurion, we want to go big and innovate and shape the future of Africa. Speaking of future, Mauritius is now encouraging innovative solutions and bolstering its service providers with new laws and regulations with a view to take the island's contribution into Africa to whole new levels. One of the most attractive propositions is embodied by the new Virtual Assets and Initial Recurring Offering Services Act, which came into force only last year. Through this new law, Mauritius becomes one of the first countries in Africa and one of the pioneers globally to actually regulate blockchain technology and virtual assets providers. By virtue of a now renowned Mauritius regulatory system, we aim to give confidence and safety to investors seeking to take advantage of the new opportunities offered by the fintech environment, which, let's face it, can be scary in other parts of the world generally. At Centurion, we strive to provide such innovative products and solutions to our clients and prospective investors, and to that end, we do partner, with the best and most compliant and highly regulated players in the field. Our aim is to help Mauritius become the most efficient fintech hub in Africa and make use of these new business tools that can seamlessly facilitate access to finance and ease the process of payments and transfer of funds all over Africa. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Ashif. Thank you very much, Ashif. Very impressive comments there about Mauritius. Now, doing business in Africa can be challenging, considering the different government policies, access to advanced technology, and constrained by infrastructure parameters such as lack of electricity, internet density, and a broadband penetration. How does the Centurion Law Group help its clients and investors to mitigate some of these issues? Now, this question will go to all of our panels and 2 minutes is allocated to all of you. Let's start from Cameroon, and then we move to Ghana, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, South Africa, and then Mauritius again. Let's hear your perspective.
Thank you so much, Michael, for this question. I'd like us to note that in Africa, not all challenges are obvious and not all opportunities are clear. And that is where Centurion Law Group comes in the continent. Now, as Centurion Law Group lawyers practicing in Africa, we make it a priority to have an in-depth knowledge of clients' business first, and we think beyond legal. We perform the role of analysts, we are consultants, and we are also project managers all in one. And this helps us to be more proactive in advising our clients on possible risks and issues. We also, combining our skill and expertise, we know exactly what to look out for. We also provide tailor-made solutions for our clients based on their business and industry. We give recommendations that support the business goals, and of course, we address all legal contexts. What we provide, as I said before, is beyond legal expertise. We build excellent relationships with regulators. We provide strategic advice pertaining to the jurisdiction. We also use our resources on the continent that lie within the expertise of our strategic partner firms. And developmental constraints are not new to us, as we are highly trained as solution providers in every sense of it. Thank you so much, Michael. On to my next.
All right, thank you so much, Achari, for that. So we are Centurion Law Group. We assist clients in every way possible. We have well-established experience dealing with corporate matters, including joint ventures and mergers. We handle both domestic and cross-border mandates. We also offer a range of legal services to support clients in our jurisdictions and beyond, applying our regional knowledge of community of Sahel-Saharan states, the census states, East African community, the Central African Economic and Monetary Community, that's the CEMAC region, where oil is a big story, as well as ECOWAS and then African Continental Free Trade Area to our clients' needs. We then again provide full legal business and advisory services. We work in a collaborative environment with our clients to develop strategies that will help them achieve their goals, save them time, minimize costs and taxes. That's it for us as lawyers at Centurion Law Group. Michael, I didn't mention some of the problems associated with Africa, the infrastructure problems. Yes, Africa lacks the rest of the world in coverage of key infrastructure classes, including energy, road, rail transportation, and water infrastructure. Take electricity as an example. Entire communities across large swaths of Africa lack any connection to the grid. We have about 600 million people living in energy poverty in Africa. So as I mentioned, Centurion Law Group, we assist our clients in every way possible to give them practical solutions for any problems they have. Thank you.
Yeah, I think my colleagues have said a lot concerning how we can assist you with the infrastructural challenges. But I think aside the infrastructural challenges, one other challenge you might, encounter coming into Africa for investment will be the challenge of language barrier. Bearing this challenge in mind, Centurion Law Group, as a Pan-African law firm, we have bilingual and multilingual lawyers and consultants that will help you make this process easier, in investing in various jurisdictions. So with the bilingual and multilingual lawyers we can assist you to work with and interface with people in different languages, including English, Spanish, French, German, and other African indigenous languages. I think this will make investment and penetrating the African market very easy for any investor or business person coming into Africa.
Thank you very much. Let's hear for Equatorial Guinea, Pablo.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, my colleagues. in addition to what my colleagues have said, personally, I love challenges. I love them. I think that at Centurion Law Group, we all love challenges. And Africa is probably the most diverse continent in the world. And I think it's normal to have challenges. For example, we still have many economic and geographical barriers within Africa that make it difficult for people and capital to move from our own country to another, especially in Central Africa. As you know, if you can move people and capital, you can move investment. It's very difficult. So how we help our clients and investors? I can say in Centurion, we create legal but also administrative services that can be useful for a company established, for example, in Cameroon, but also want to operate in Mauritius or South Africa. At Centurion Law Group, we take care of your immigration or compliance matters at a multinational level in different African countries. So you don't have to worry about African diversity effects on your business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pablo, and the remainder of my colleagues. I think just to add a few aspects on why Centurion, and as Tamara rightfully mentioned, is the power of language. I think one underestimates that on the African continent. As Tamara mentioned, our team of lawyers speak the indigenous languages and we understand the people. I think sufficient understanding is one of the key elements of investing in a foreign country. With regards to another hurdle, I think that we navigate is the political and social instability that some of these countries often face. And we have personally experienced in some of our matters how something like a government changes or government shifts can lead to renegotiations or even withdrawal of licenses. And it's important to be thoroughly informed throughout the duration of an investment. And that is something that I really respect, is the fact that we continue to monitor, even post-investment. There's absolutely no substitute for having somebody in the country on ground. And that's also what Centurion offer. Furthermore, when it comes to how we assist with the general legislation and implementation of regulatory laws, we are lawyers, but I'm also proud to say that we are at the forefront of landmark precedents, not just the navigation thereof, but also the sculpting. We assist a lot of countries' legislatures in the actual drafting and creation of legislation in specific regions. We are invited to participate. So we understand the theory of the law, but also the practical implementation thereof. And I think lastly, just to mention, is the fact that we're young and we're passionate. It is evident from the seminar. Acharya, I'm thinking about investing in Cameroon after this, so I'll just give you a ring. But it's evident, it's clearly evident that we are passionate about not only providing sound legal advice to our clients, but actually playing a crucial role in securing investment into Africa in these different jurisdictions. And so uplifting and actively contributing towards creating opportunities for the continent and her people. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Leon, from a Mauritius standpoint, the government has since 2 decades now established the Economic Development Board, which is the state's dedicated investment promotion agency. Over the years, the EDB has devised a host of schemes and has successfully implemented the government's policies for business facilitation, which has hugely contributed to Mauritius becoming one of the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa. At Centurion Law Group, we are well versed in all the legal and regulatory frameworks provided by the government, and we move hand in hand with our clients and prospective investors to take advantage of all these schemes that are designed to mitigate the challenges posed by investing in Africa. When it comes to investing in Mauritius itself and on a physical infrastructure point of view, the government of Mauritius has, over the last few years, invested more than $3 billion on new road networks, as well as on the maintenance of the existing networks to facilitate transport around the island. Also, in terms of connectivity, Mauritius offers 5G broadband in its major business centers. Mauritius therefore provides a breath of fresh air to investors who are growingly becoming, uncomfortable with the challenges that they face in terms of business infrastructure in Africa. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, all of you, for your comments. Thanks for your input. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the Centurion Law Group is famous for providing advice to government, foreign investors, local businesses, and other law firms, as well as the private sector. They have over 10 international offices with over 350 attorneys with 80 nationalities and a footprint in nearly 57 countries. And our panelists just told us how they are helping their clients to navigate some of these challenges within Africa. Now, to my final question, and this again goes to all the panelists: why should an investor invest in Cameroon? Why should an investor invest in Ghana, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, South Africa, and Mauritius? I'm sure our viewers wants to hear this comment from you. So let's start from Cameroon, and then Ghana, and then we move towards that accordingly.
Thank you so much, Michael. So the key assets to Cameroonian economy include, and these are the reasons why investors should come into Cameroon. We have an abundance of natural resources. We have a diversified economy at exports. So we have oil, we have minerals, we have agricultural and cash crops. We also have a large and diversified market. Of course, we are part of the CEMAC that increases our market. We have the monetary stability as the country is part of the CFA franc zone. I'm sure my learned colleague Pablo in Equatorial Guinea is going to attest to this. We also have the freedom of establishment. Since in Cameroon, access to investment is pretty easy. And also you have a sui generis structure for your investments that the Agency of the Promotion of Foreign Investment in the country represents. This makes it possible to be informed on necessary authorizations for establishment. Also, you will enjoy the bilingual nature of the country by communicating either in English or in French or both. And with regards to the availability of power, which I know many investors are worried about, we right now have the ongoing construction project of the Nachtigal Hydroelectric Power Station. It's currently under construction and it's going to go operational by November 2023. This is a 420 megawatt hydroelectric power station that is going to come and stabilize electricity and solve all our power problems. So thank you so much, Michael, and on to my next colleague.
Okay, thank you so much, Ashari. So we are moving on to why you should invest in Ghana. So in Ghana, to be very honest, we are going through very difficult times economically now, but that does not take away from the fact that Ghana has one of the strongest democracy in Africa. Ghana is the second safest country in Africa after Mauritius. Ghana has relatively low crime rates compared to some other African countries. And December to February is an excellent time to catch Ghana's beauty and enjoy all the perks that touring the country carries. I will highly recommend you spending your December in Ghana. And this is brought to us by courtesy of the Year of Return policy. There are so many investment opportunities associated with the Year of Return policy. The Year of Return policy, which was started in 2019, was a campaign to bring foreigners, particularly back from the Black diaspora, to Ghana as visitors or as tourists. This brings in fresh skills and capital and places Ghana firmly on the map as a key destination spot. I won't forget to mention that our visa is on arrival. This has actually allowed eligible citizens, like my colleague Tamara mentioned, you just pack and go, and you're in Ghana, you get your visa on arrival. Please, when you get to Ghana, don't forget to try the amazing Ghana jollof. And also, I'd like to talk about ease of doing business in Ghana. Accordingly, we have political stability, we have investment safety regulations, which has been established through strong institutions, fair and enforceable laws, which are crucial to attract maximum foreign direct investment. And that, because of this, successive governments have put in place pro-business laws and institutions to promote the ease of doing business in the country. I would like to talk about Ghana's ICT sector. So Ghana's ICT sector continues to play a key role in Ghana's broader economic growth, and the sector continues to expand despite wider economical, fiscal constraints and currency devaluation. Industry experts estimate that the ICT sector in Ghana is currently valued at $1 billion and may reach $5 billion by 2030. There are several tech equipment, software, and service companies which are present in the market, some of which include the America Tower Corporation, the ATC, Parallel Wireless, we have TechGolf, we have Google, we have Twitter, we have IBM, we have Uber, we have Oracle, we have Eminent Payments, we have Microsoft, we have EIA Information Systems, Cisco and Oracle. All these are present in Ghana, among others. The fintech startup space creates the opportunity for you to invest in the sector with no minimum capital requirement. So you can just come apply for a license, and then you set up your fintech or your tech company in Ghana. For want of time, I won't be able to go through how big our agricultural sector is and the various tax rebates available to investors in this sector. I would like to conclude and say that Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa in the world after Cote d'Ivoire, with a market share of about 20%. We have rich mineral resources like gold, diamonds, manganese, limestone, bauxite, iron ore, as well as various clay and granite deposits. Ghana is the second largest producer of gold in Africa. Interestingly, lithium has been discovered in commercial quantities in about 3 regions in Ghana, and Ghana is on course to become West Africa's first lithium producing country. We know how essential lithium is for our batteries, and with the talk of electric vehicles. It is estimated that Ghana could generate about $5 billion from its lithium deposits. So yay for Ghana. The petroleum sector has also experienced significant growth, particularly since the discovery of oil in commercial quantities in the Jubilee field in 2007. Ghana is the 8th largest producer of petroleum in Africa. Thank you very much. I'll invite all of you to invest in Ghana.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Yom. I'm not going to make this conversation about Ghana jollof versus Nigeria jollof. I'll just focus on investment. But in the course of this conversation, we've spoken and highlighted various, investment incentives and reasons why you should come to Africa to invest. Earlier, I mentioned, signing of the AFCFTA and all other legislative contributions to ensure that investments and business environment in Nigeria is favorable. Just like my colleague mentioned, Achari, she said Cameroon is blessed with natural resources. I personally think the whole of Africa is blessed with natural resources. Nigeria is not left out. Earlier, I mentioned that Nigeria is the biggest oil producing country in Africa. We have various natural resources. We have land for agricultural development. Another thing is the technology sector, which is thriving in Nigeria. In 2022, Nigerian fintech companies raised a venture capital funding of $1.2 billion. The availability of human resources is also an advantage to come into Nigeria. I've been mentioning the business environment. I think that's another advantage to come into Nigeria. The digitalization of the incorporation process will make it easy, very easy for you to come in, set up and start operation. And even in Centurion Law Group would hold your hand through the incorporation process, through your operation processes, will make everything easy for you. Also, for those in the agricultural sector specifically, I think a favorable weather all through the year in Nigeria is another plus for investment here in Nigeria. There are opportunities. It's not just planting or farming that has the opportunities. There are opportunities all through the value chain for investment, and even similar to Cameroon, there in Nigeria, except for sectors that require local content, you can have the wholly foreign-owned company, and not even bother about looking for a Nigerian shareholder to be part of your company. You can have all your investors and shareholders as foreigners. We spoke about earlier about the fast-growing population in Africa, and I think the population in Nigeria is an addition. It's a plus in the sense that you're not going to lack human capital. In Nigeria, we have all sorts of expertise and human capital available for you to deploy in your business. So it makes it easy. That's another plus that makes it easy for you to operate in Nigeria. I'll let my colleague go on.
Thank you very much. Let's hear the perspective of Equatorial Guinea and then South Africa and Mauritius.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you again. In Equatorial Guinea, in addition to the incentives I have mentioned before, Equatorial Guinea, which is a very safe and stable country, is strategically located less than 3 hours from the largest cities in the Gulf of Guinea, such as Lagos, which is a huge city, and Accra and others. 60% of the total population in Equatorial Guinea is under 25 years, and 74.4% of the entire population lives in urban areas. This means investment opportunities in education, electricity, agriculture, and fishing, etc., with very good incentives. Just to name a few examples, regarding electricity, Equatorial Guinea produces more electricity than we consume. However, only 65% of the population has access to electricity. Finally, since last year, the government is privatizing public assets. I think this is very important. And companies such as Sabre Intercontinental Airlines or Sekesa, which is the only electricity operator in the country, among others, have been announced as part of the state assets that will be privatized. The ease of doing business is also improving. For example, the one-stop shop is fully operational, where you can do all the paperwork in just one day and in a single place, and have the company operational in less than 2 weeks. There are others, and I can stop here, and thanks all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pablo. I was just thinking the other day, somebody asked me, who's the best investor I know? And I replied with Noah, because he floated stock while everything around him was in liquidation. Just to leave it there, I think I've highlighted most of the aspects why South Africa is such an important and crucial destination to invest in. And just to maybe highlight 3 aspects for the sake of time constraints is at least in today's day and age, we have statutes and we have laws. I think South Africa caters for international investors and almost treats them like VIPs. You know, as I said, there's continuous attempts to make, to secure investment. We are well aware of, the challenges we face, and we continue to address it hands-on. We are also very excited by a new piece of legislation, which is called the Ease of Doing Business Bill, which was introduced last year, February, which primary aim is to consider the social economic impact and regulatory measures, including the detection of and reduction of red tape and providing assistance to businesses in overcoming it. So I think it's a holistic approach. In 2022, South Africa scored 70 points in the Ease of Doing Business Index of the World Bank Group, rating it 84th out of 190 countries. We had one of the best business environments in Africa, actually. In particular, the attractiveness of South Africa was very high in terms of starting, new businesses and protecting minority investors. I think also, our access to global markets, thanks to the strategic trade agreements that gives companies preferential access to the EU through the EU SADC Free Trade Agreement and the US market through the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. Like my colleague mentioned, we're also very excited to reap from the benefits of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So yes, South Africa, definitely there's a reason that 75% of the main companies are located in South Africa, and we invite investors with open arms. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Mauritius is widely known as a paradise tourist destination, and also, as I said before, as a platform for global investment. But actually, excellent opportunities for investment exist in various sectors of the economy within the island itself, including the real estate sector, global headquarters administration, and free port operation, amongst others. Indeed, actually, the country has opened up acquisition of freehold property to foreigners. Investors and businesses are guaranteed a variety of incentives to invest in real estate or work, live, or even retire in Mauritius. As my colleague Guillaume Moratti pointed out, Mauritius is the safest and most peaceful country in Africa, and we are one of the most welcoming nations worldwide. The real estate sector in Mauritius is particularly attractive due to the absence of any capital gains, estate, or inheritance tax. Moreover, the sector offers an enticing average return on investment of more than 7% in terms of rental income, and also resale of property, which is not subject to any limitation. Another advantage of investing in Mauritius or using the country as an investment platform is its strong legal system. Mauritius offers alternative dispute resolution in the form of arbitration and mediation through its international arbitration centers. It is a welcoming and inclusive bilingual place which benefits from both civil law and common law frameworks, and which possesses all infrastructural requirements for the efficient conduct of the arbitral proceedings. Michael, my friend, you have relocated to Mauritius for some time now. How's your personal experience?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ashif. Indeed, Mauritius is a wonderful country to visit, and I'm sure it has several investment opportunities as well as the other African countries for investors to exploit. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the conclusion of the webinar. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you found it insightful and worthwhile. At least I did. And from what I heard from Yom, she said, when you visit Ghana, don't forget to try the famous Ghana jollof. I'm hungry. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation, and also to the panelists. Centurion Law Group Centurion Plus is an arm of the Centurion Law Group. It's an agile and customized legal and advisory service offering, which brings together a team of African lawyers for any deal on a project basis. They have the ability to identify and mobilize the best local talent in each market while maintaining international standards, legal and consulting services delivery, whether it's on-site or off-site, on-call or on-demand. The Centurion Plus has the African lawyers and advisors your company needs, ready to deploy and wherever and whenever you need them, always ready at your disposal. If you have any queries or further questions, please contact Centurion Group on +27 112 455 900. And I repeat, +27 112 455 900. Or you can send them an email on info@centurionlg.com. info@centurionlg.com. Thank you very much for participating, and we have come to the conclusion of the webinar. See you next time.